My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, AKA the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery.
Welcome to Exit Team Nashua.
Hi, welcome to Exit Team Nashua. My name is Jasmine and I am your host. Exit Team is a show where we bring people with real life experiences with addiction and we bring them right into your living room. I'm joined every week by my co-host Bobby.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
And we have other host Amy here today, and so Amy is also a host for Exit Team. She was hosting Exit Team Manchester, which is just on hold for a little bit right now, and she's also we have two shows back to back, for Process Recovery, and Amy is also with Process Recovery. She's also been a spiritual advisor to me for years now. She is a woman who taught me how to be a woman and to help other women. And so on this show, I often refer to like my network of women and how I've made it through things, and when I'm struggling, what I do. And so this is her.
Hi.
Whoa, that's a hell of an intro.
Right? What an intro. You feel really great about that one.
Oh yeah, no, you can't not feel great after
Yeah,
that.
especially when it's jazz,
It's true. It's all true. So I'm really honored to have you here tonight. I'm always honored to be next to you anywhere. I have the privilege of knowing you very well, and I had the privilege of going to Maine last Friday and hearing you share your experience, strength, and hope. That was very, very, very moving. An extracurricular activity that she was doing, but it was in front of a lot of people.
Fellowship of the Spirit?
Yes.
I
I was the Friday night opening speaker, and there was like 800 people.
Really?
I almost puked, yeah.
Okay, so first of all, you have to get her tape. It's out, and so it's always someone that I've always looked up to, right?
Yeah.
Always. I'm telling you, levitating on the stage.
I don't know about that.
You figured that out?
Levitating on the
Because
stage.
I heard there's this energy lady that can help you do that.
It's her.
Is it?
Well, I don't know. I just know we did that meditation in the hotel room before. I have this song that I love, and I almost feel like I'm levitating, but
Yeah.
I definitely don't think I was levitating at the...
You might have been levitating.
Maybe.
You need to listen to it. She was on fire on a whole new level.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think it was the anxiety.
Dude, the anxiety and the stress brings the best out of you.
Yeah.
Or a mental breakdown. Either or.
She was cracking mad jokes, and I was like, I didn't even know Amy was so funny.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that was
do you take offense to that though?
No, I was, because it was the nerves. I was like, okay, so I'm either if they were laughing at me or
Yeah.
with me, I feel a little bit more secure about the
Okay.
situation.
Okay.
Even if they're laughing at me, but yeah, I kind of made jokes about my hair and tattoos.
A lot.
And
She made jokes about everything.
yeah,
You
because
have to, though.
it was
good.
an older crowd. I'm normally used to
Mhm.
speaking to a younger crowd, so it's an older crowd. So I
Yeah. I find that
pushed a lot on the stigma of my hair and tattoos.
I mean, listen, we're all messed up. My jokes either
She
hit or
took offense
miss.
to that.
No, I make jokes all the time, and usually they don't know they're the jokes when I share my story. I'd have to be okay, that's a joke. You can laugh.
Are you
It's
the only
okay.
one laughing? Because
No,
that's
I don't really
always
even laugh.
embarrassing.
I just make jokes
doesn't
about
even
the
laugh.
horrible things that happen to me. Because if I don't make a joke about it, it will literally kill me.
I one
Yeah.
time had a therapist tell me that that's not honoring everything that I went through, and that it's really unhealthy, and that she finds that people in recovery really detach from emotion from all the terrible things she went through. And then I was like, well, I can't connect to that. It would be so painful. I
Yeah.
would not be able to share that with anyone. I wouldn't be able to share it.
See, what I would have taken from that is you think I'm funny. Thank you. I'm glad that you understand this, and we can move on.
I like that you wore yellow this week.
Yeah?
I wore yellow last week, and someone texted me and said it was a bold move.
Really?
To wear yellow?
Yeah, bold move.
It's a good color. It's a
Is
it?
power color.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you just make that up?
Maybe.
Did
it sound good?
There's power colors?
It did. I was like, I didn't know that.
I feel like bold colors, it just shows confidence. And guys are pink and purple. It's just I'm gonna own this yellow shirt.
I'm a fan of peach colored shirts or salmon.
Mhm. Oh, yes,
Salmon.
salmon.
Coral. Coral's a good one.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So for people that don't know you, let's start from the beginning. Yeah, what qualifies you?
Well, I'll first start with that I'm a woman in long-term recovery. My sobriety date is August 5th, 2011. And the day I decided to get sober,
I'm sorry.
the day that I decided to get sober, was the day that I really started living. And I didn't really think that that was a possibility for me, and I kind of just hung on to like a little bit of hope in the people that I saw that had, more clean time than me, or, people that like rebuilt their lives, even though in the beginning I was like, these people are lying. There's no way that they have that long without drugs and alcohol.
Or that they were actually happy.
Or
Right.
why would they want to?
Right. Why would that even be a thing? But, I started using drugs and alcohol at a really young age. I was a daily drinker by my freshman year in high school, and it was a lack of connection. It's just, I actually speak at high schools and middle schools today, and that's what I talk about. Is I talk about there's a difference between, I believe, when we start using, if we're using because it's the thing to do and you're like in high school and you like go to parties and like, or if you're like looking for drugs and alcohol to fix a feeling inside of you. So if, and not everyone, but a lot of that's like what it started. Like I, from the beginning of my life, just always had this feeling that I wanted to be someone else. I wanted to be somewhere else. If I had a new outfit on and I walked into school and I thought it was the best outfit, as soon as I got into school, like I wanted what she had on, and I wanted, her parents and it just, I never ever felt good as who I was as a person. And, alcohol and drugs did that for me, like in this false sense of reality, because I started drinking and then I met friends that were drinking, and then I felt connected.
Yeah. And everything was okay because that whole process is off. I mean, like, I can relate to that, and like that was my whole goal, was to like shut my head off.
Yeah. That feeling of like not wanting to be a part of something or not being or feeling a part of. I, continued to drink and drug that way. I got into a bad car accident in 2005. I always say that it was like a very vital part. Like I was a daily drinker and I used, substances when I could, or like stuff on the weekends, or if I like saw pill bottles, like I took them out of the cabinet, things like that. And my drug use wasn't daily. It was quite often, but not like on a regular thing. And I got into a car accident in 2005, and I was med-flighted to Mass General. I was in a coma. I had brain surgery. It was a lot, but.
How old were you?
19.
19.
It was May 5th, 2005, Cinco de Mayo. And it was like early in the morning, so I like hadn't really started partying yet. It was like I was working at a bar and I was driving a carpeting company. It was this big thing, but. So I was driving and I like overcorrected myself and flipped a van on the highway, and I was in the coma for 6 days. They told my parents I wouldn't remember how to walk or talk because the area of my brain that was hit. And I woke up after being in a 6-day coma and I was absolutely fine. And it was exactly what my little budding alcoholic drug addict ego needed, because now I'm more untouchable. Because like I would have consequences, but it was never anything serious. I always like got away with things. Like it was kind of how my whole using life went, because I never really got in any big trouble, which I should have.
We're not going to change if there's no consequences.
Yeah.
Like, why would I? Like, this is going great. Now I'm walking away with probably a script.
Exactly. So I got a prescription of Oxycontin at 19 and $20,000 because the accident wasn't my fault.
That sounds...
Life-changing.
Yeah, terrifying, to be honest.
So it was completely life-changing, and they kind of sold my parents on the fact that like the Oxycontin were like this miracle drug, and like I wasn't going to get addicted to it, and like everything was going to be good, and I'd be able to come off of it, and that obviously didn't happen, and it was very soon after that I turned, it was IV heroin use, and those 6 years, so I got sober when I was 25, but those 6 years like led to everything that it was, like jails, institution, deaths. I like went to jail multiple times, just like long like weekends, or the longest I spent was like 7 days. I'm not really that like, I was gonna swear, but I'm not.
Despite the look.
Yeah. Despite the look, I'm really not that much of a bad, but
Okay.
I'm not allowed to swear. It's hard.
It's really hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really know. Like, I don't really remember. I like to call myself a relief-seeking missile, and that's how I was from the beginning. And
Yeah.
I just found that with drugs and alcohol, and then, luckily, like, I find that in, like, my sobriety today. So, early recovery was tough, and I spent, like, probably a year and a half, like, in and out, like, detoxes, treatment.
Okay.
I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just a drug addict. That
I
whole.
can still smoke weed.
That one.
Yeah.
Tried that one.
Nope, I've done that, and I think that's like really common for us because like for me to admit at a young age, like, yep, I can never do a substance ever again, like that wasn't gonna happen.
No, and it was back to the thing that I talked about. Like, I believe that everybody that said they had long-term sobriety was lying.
Yeah, or like I 100% didn't believe that they were actually happy. Like I thought it was all like a sick joke, and like, because anywhere else in life, like I could pretend to be okay for like an hour. You know what I mean? So I just assumed that they were doing it
Right.
in that hour meeting, and then like they went home and they just hated their life, and like they were just trying to like build a cult.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
we're all chanting
Drinking
in
the
unison.
Kool-Aid?
Yeah, we're all chanting in unison right now.
I drink the Kool-Aid
Yeah.
now.
Amy pours the Kool-Aid.
Mixing it.
She makes it at her house every Wednesday night.
I do.
Ooh.
It comes in spaghetti sauce form.
Yeah.
I have a sponsorship family, and I cook dinner for them every night on Wednesday nights, and they cook, and then you write and do whatever step work you're on, and then we go to a home group.
This is the big question right now. Do you
No,
put
not
sugar in
allowed.
your sauce?
Yes.
I thought we had some. I thought this was gonna.
That's an
No.
Italian thing. You put sugar in your sauce.
It depends on what part of the boot you're from.
Oh, sorry. My mom always taught me to put sugar in my sauce.
My mom never puts sugar in the sauce. Do you call it sauce or gravy?
We're
Sauce.
we're addicts. Put the sugar in the sauce.
Put the sugar in the sauce.
Page
Okay.
133 of our literature. Check it out.
Always have a piece of chocolate on you.
Yeah, so put the sugar in the sauce.
Put the sugar in the sauce.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, so it was just like I call the last year of my youth purgatory.
I like that.
Yeah. I like lived in this year of my life where I woke up every day like so angry I was still alive.
Yeah.
I lived homeless. I slept on park benches. My poor parents, like, had to write me off. I usually say it
Hey,
like,
can we touch on that real quick? Because before you got here, we were having a conversation with a friend of ours who they just found out a loved one is using, and they found paraphernalia in the home, and like the loved one's not willing to get honest about it. I was like, you need to kick them out, like, and so will you share in your experiences, like how your family kicking you out, like helped you hit the bottom that you needed to get well?
yeah, so my parents didn't, I like left when I was 16. My parents, I was like out way before that. That was like this, like I was, drinking and like all that stuff. But, having my parents not pick up my phone calls and not like let me manipulate them anymore to say like I needed food or I needed this, or I would call them when I was in a different state and get them to bail me out, and that mental torture that I put my family through, they had to get to the point where they were like, no, we're not picking up your phone call anymore. Like, until you're ready to get well, until you're ready to do something to help you. And they would, like, if I was going to go to detox, they would, like, pick me up and drop me off. And they would buy me a couple packs of cigarettes, and they would give me a little bit of money for food. But the second I left that detox, like, no.
No.
Like, it was done. And, that saved me. And I always say, and, like, as a mother today of two, is really hard to, like, think that that's the solution. But the problem is that if we continue to enable addicts' behavior, they're never going to change.
Yeah, they're gonna love them to death.
Literally love them to death.
You know what I mean? And like, I feel like I don't have kids, but like I feel like that's like the most counterintuitive thing to think. Like, okay, my
You
kid
need
is
to suffer.
my
Right.
kid is struggling. I can't help them to like. because that's the way to help them.
But there's like healthy ways to help them. Like, okay, like if you're calling me and you want to, like, let's figure out a plan for you to go to treatment. Like, let's figure out like meetings that you can go to. Like, there's local recovery centers in Nashua and Manchester, and there's family support groups. So the parents, there's plenty of groups that parents can go to get support on how to have healthy boundaries. It's not just like, oh, whatever, like, go die. That's not really what, it's like, sounds so harsh, but it's like, no, like, okay, like, if you're willing to do A, B, and C, then I'm willing to help you.
But not until they're willing.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's boundaries.
Yeah.
Is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm not going to help you get high, but I will help you get better.
Right. And, like, that's what you can look at it as, is like hard it is. I wasn't willing. I didn't even know that year of purgatory that I talk about, like, I didn't know this existed. I didn't know this way of life is possible. I never knew meetings existed. I never knew people in sobriety existed until I was 25 years old. I didn't know. I had never been to a meeting. Nobody ever told me to go. I went to Suboxone clinics, and that was never like, oh, you should go here. Really? Never went to a meeting in my life.
See, the only reason I knew AA existed is because I was driving home with my dad and like my whole family when I was like 8. There's a bunch of dudes smoking cigarettes outside of the church, and I was like, "Isn't that bad for you, Dad?" And he's like, "Listen, what they were doing before this is fine."
Well, you better.
Yeah.
So just so everybody knows, if you're just tuning in and you're not aware, you know, like Bobby just said, or like I've been saying, like, 12-step fellowships, there's a bunch. There's Alcoholics Anonymous, there's Narcotics Anonymous, there's Heroin Anonymous, there's Cocaine Anonymous, there's Smart Recovery, there's the 3 Principles, there's all different avenues of...
Refuge Recovery is
big.
Yeah,
which is like Buddhism.
They have MAT, 12-step meetings now. Yeah.
So these fellowships and these meetings and sponsorship and these different, anonymous meetings that we're talking about, there's websites where you can just search them and look for them. So just wanted to put that plug.
There's tons of different
plug
avenues.
in there.
Yeah.
I always knew 12-step recovery existed, but it was never appealing to me. Like, being homeless, living in the streets for a very long time was more appealing to me than going and sitting in a meeting with people.
It was only when I I didn't go to 12-step meetings because I wanted to improve as a person. It was like, I just literally don't want to die right now.
I was waiting for you to say it was for the girls.
Oh, God, no. It was the fact of, like, literally the day before detox was a very, very bad day. It was a rough day. It was like, I'm going to kill myself bad. Like, right there. So, like, when I came back and somebody told me, it's like, hey, if you do these things, like, you won't die. I'm like, cool, I'm going to do those.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I wanted to be better. It's like, I just literally don't want to die.
Yeah, so true. So I, purgatory, detox, street. Oh, so my first experience, I, like, collapsed on my sister-in-law's floor and was like, I need help.
No.
I had no idea what that looked like. I had no idea that looked like 12-step meetings. I had no idea that even looked like detox. I had never... Since I was 15 and I picked up alcohol until I was 24 at the time. I had never, besides like being in jail, which, those weekend stints in jail is like almost easy to detox because you like know, it's like, it shows how much it's mental. Because when you're sitting in a lockdown 23-hour hold and you know that you can't get anything, you're sick and uncomfortable, but it's not like when you're out on the streets.
Yeah.
Oh, I found it.
I know somebody can get what I need.
I found it worse because it's like you're counting down the hours until you get out.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you get out, you're going to be better. Yeah.
So purgatory, I just wake up like every day just like wanting to die and like so angry that the last fix, that the last drink, like the last any amount of drugs that I could get just wouldn't kill me because I thought that was my only way out. I literally thought that was my only way out. I used to say if I make it to 25, I lived a full life. I remember saying that. And
what a shame it would be if you died at 25.
I used to say I was going to make it to like 24, 25.
That was it. That was what I gave my life expectancy. And if anybody knew, if you knew me back then, like they would like, sometimes people still see me and they're like, wow, you're still alive.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, because I get it. I get why they're saying it. So I, started to do, like I said, like the in and out and, treatment and meetings and I do this and do that and then I got pregnant and You know, it like continued, and then, you know, my son finally gave me something to fight for. I finally, like I always say it, and I don't care, because you sometimes hear it in meetings, like, you can't do it for your kids, and like, if you can't, like, you know, it's free of judgment, but I had no self-worth. I had absolutely zero self-worth coming into this program, and I had no self-worth, and like, I was okay with dying. So now I had, you know, my son gave me like something to fight for, and like, I know that I don't do it for him now, and it just took a little while of me like learning the principles and like knowing what I had to do and being willing to do the work, that I realized I have to do it for myself 100%, but he gave me that foot into the door. It's
literally whatever gets you in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I agree with you. It's just like, okay, you have to stay sober for yourself, but whatever gets you sober gets you sober. Like, it could be court, it could be probation, it could be because your family kicked you out, it could be because of your kids, it could be because of your whatever, right? Literally whatever gets you into the door, like, that switch can flip.
And everyone's experience is so different, right? So like, I came in so broken that I changed for myself, but I know plenty of people, like, they were sectioned, and like, they were able to stay clean. I remember when I heard you speak the other day, because I'm like, I like invest so much of myself to like help people and try to be like this recovery advocate. And when you were speaking on Friday, you were like, you had like shared how you got sober in a state-funded facility, and I was like, damn, dude, that's really cool, because you don't hear much of that anymore, and that's really cool, you know what I mean? And so people get sober in state-funded facilities, and like, you know what I mean? Like cement slabs, people get sober in jail, people get sober, whatever they find, however they find their way, you know? It doesn't matter. I know plenty of people that have gotten sober for many different reasons.
Yeah.
You know, and in the process, you find yourself.
Yeah.
Literally whatever gets you in the door and plants a seed.
Yeah.
You know?
So my son did that for me, thank God. And then God did it for me. And my life in the past 7 years, excuse me, I just burped, that was really cute. So
my phone's been going off the whole show, so.
My life in the past 7 years, like, I can't even explain to you. There is no other reason other than like a divine, you know, universal connection, or whatever it is, or whatever that got me here. My life has been so beautiful, and not only like on the outside, but on the inside. Like, I remember this like very pivotal moment for me in my life where I was a year and a half sober, and I had just gotten custody of my son back, because I had lost custody of him due to my use, and I like fought to get him back, and I got an apartment. I was a bartender my entire life, so my first couple of years of sobriety I had to bartend. Don't recommend it.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
But the 12-step promises came true for me, and I could go anywhere a free man can go, as long as I was in fit spiritual condition. And that's what happened for me. And I continued to sponsor women, and I continued to have a home group and a service position, do all the things that I needed to do to take care of my spiritual condition. And I stayed really honest about where I was at. And I was able to save money, and I got an apartment, and I literally had an apartment, and I had a crib for my son, and I had a mattress on the floor, and I had never been happier in my entire life. And it was just this full moment of full circle gratitude, where it's like, I don't need any of the outside stuff to feel so good about who I am as a person, coming from like a street junkie to like showing up as like a mom and a sponsor and a daughter. I was like back in my parents' life. Like, I've rebuilt all of the relationships in my life with my mom and my dad and my brother, just all of, you know, full circle stuff. And when you start to do those things, you feel good and you get your self-esteem back. So it doesn't really matter. I had no license. I had no car. I was walking everywhere. I had to humble myself to call people to pick me up, to bring me and my son to the grocery store. My dad would have to drive me to pick up my son when it was my dad. Like, just like these so humbling moments where you would think you would be like, oh, I gotta do this, or oh, I gotta do that. And it's like gratitude.
Yeah, it's the perception change, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I was so, literally, the like material things are material things, but like the things I treasure is like, my sister talks to me now.
Yeah.
My brother can like share things when like before he told me like, I don't want to be anything like you. You know what I mean? And like, that hurts. You know, my dad can trust me. My mom can trust me. You know, like, that's the stuff I care about. Material stuff comes and goes.
Yeah.
You know,
It does.
It's like relationships.
And the material
trust,
things, like for me, when I first got sober, were like a huge motivation for me. And they do. And so now, having experienced it, it's like the coolest feeling to like walk with your head held high and like know that you're an awesome person and know that you have value and like know that you have worth.
Yeah.
You know, I had never experienced that ever before. Ever. Amy used to tell me she's going to love me until I love myself.
I think like one of the
Bobby just skips right over that. He's like, okay.
no, I get it, and like I think actually like the coolest thing is being able to help others.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think that was the biggest gift I ever got in sobriety.
Yeah.
Was the fact of like, you know, you were talking about holding your head up. You know what I mean? Like I was able to hold my head up and be like, yeah, you know what? Like I was where you were at, and like somebody showed me the way, so let me help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been that. Like the 12 step has always been something that's so near and dear to my heart, and I learned that. I started sponsoring women when I was 9 months sober, and I've always had like a troop of, you know, women, not only women that I've helped, but women that have helped me. It was something that my first sponsor taught me, was to create the fellowship that I seek. And I knew what I needed in my life, and I knew what I had been missing my whole life, that deep connection with women, because I was never able to do that. I was never able, in my active addiction, and even as a child, I was never able to form lasting friendships. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I didn't even know what was going on inside of me to be able to connect with somebody. So I never had that my whole life. I never felt connected to my family. I never, ever felt connected. So when I knew that that's what I needed, like that's what I created, because that's what carries me through anything that I'm going through. And sobriety has not been easy, and you know, there's been a lot of things that have happened, and we actually talked about it on the Process radio show this morning, about just making sure you stay 100% transparent and vulnerable no matter how much time you have. Because what happens is we get to this point where we think that we're supposed to be, you know, this role model, or have it all together, and like I've got it all figured out. Like, no, I don't have anything figured out. And the longer I stay sober, the more I realize that I really don't have it all figured out, and I really need help and guidance from everyone, from people that come in with 24 hours, from people that have 30 years. Like, as long as I stay open to always learning and to always growing, like, it's okay to not be okay.
I'm gonna interrupt. The show's over.
What?
It's over. Take us out.
Oh.
Take us out.
Yeah, so I'll just, you know, if you're in recovery and you're in long-term recovery, or just coming in, like, just know that, like, it's okay to not be okay. I've had a really rough day today. I lost my grandmother, and, you know, I showed up. I showed up here today when I didn't want to, and I told people that, like, I'm not okay, and, like, I came here and did what I needed to do as, like, a woman, and to spread hope, like, no matter what. So if you're out there and you're suffering, there's a lot of resources, and there's a Facebook, and there's people, and there's hope, and you can absolutely recover.
See you next week.